Thank you. So good afternoon. I wanted to get started on talking about the Online Safety Act, and one which I wanted to particularly touch on because it's been alerted to me through a really sad case in my own constituency around access to pro-suicide content online through forums and websites. And I know in April you started your first investigation into one of these pro-suicide forums. I just wondered if you had a particular timeline that you work to with these sorts of investigations, and then more widely, a bit of an overview on the work you're doing to tackle this kind of content and get it taken off out of the realm of people being able to access it, because it really is impacting a worrying number of lives.
Yeah. Yes, there is a particular website, and I think none of us like to give it its name because we don't want to help it to reach its audience, but it's illegal content, a lot of this. It's advocating and assisting and giving people the means to take their own lives, and that's not, that's just simply not legal. It falls squarely against the illegal harms parts of the Online Safety Act. So, as you say, this is our first investigation against a platform, almost immediately after the duties came into force. So what will happen next is that this is where, as Michael was saying, it can get quite difficult for us to predict timelines, I'll be honest with you, because we need to give the other side a chance to respond, and then we need to work out, what and when we will then do to push things further forward. Ultimately, as you know, we have pretty stringent fines that we can levy, but we can also seek through the courts a business disruption order against a platform that we just feel is simply not listening to what we are saying and what the Act says, particularly where the level of harm warrants that. But that's a test that we would expect the court to be very, very, very careful in judging, because of the implications for freedom of expression as well, which just have to be part of the conversation, even if that sometimes feels very, very difficult in cases like this. And I would just add that particular forum has been the subject of a number of coroners' requests of Ofcom, a number of prevention of future death reports, so it's very much at the centre of our thinking and of the coroners' courts as well.
Thank you. And so then sort of widening it out to illegal and harmful content across the board, what progress are you making in terms of ensuring platforms have the processes to address this type of content?
Well, where content is illegal, the codes are now finished. Parliament has approved them. They went live on the 16th of March. And so we expect all of those companies now to be implementing, if they need to, the provisions of the codes. The first step that they had to take was to do a risk assessment, and we asked 60 companies for their risk assessment within a fortnight of that deadline of the 16th of March, and we've been interrogating those assessments over the last few weeks and having some conversations with companies where we think that there are issues. And we've been doing the same when it comes to the need for age assurance for pornography sites, for example, and there we are poised to be taking enforcement action fairly soon against a couple of companies that we are concerned about. So we're on the way on this in doing what the Act requires of us, which is to assess the risk assessments, assess the measures, and then start to take action if we think we need to. And the children's codes, which we published and finalised a fortnight ago now, they are 6 months behind that timescale, but it's exactly the same process.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful.
Sorry, it's not 6 months, it's 4 months behind.
Right, thank you. And obviously this is a really challenging sphere to be working in. You are against tech firms who have a lot of resources. Do you feel you have the resources that you need to address these issues?
I think if I may give you a breather. I think we do. The resources, the implementation is the thing, but it's the Act which gives us the roadmap to make sure that we can, over time, reduce harm. And all the strength comes from that. I think we are, we were well prepared. Government of the day enabled us, gave us an investment which enabled us to tool up well ahead so that when the bill became an act, received royal assent, we were ready to go. We had the right people in place. And I have to say, one of the first things I did when I arrived at Ofcom, and which the board did, was really to look at our recruitment in that area. And I think the board is extremely comfortable that we've recruited extremely well, both from the public sector, from NGOs, from tech companies themselves who've been there and done it. It's the quality of the resources that we've been able to recruit, I think, which will stand us in good stead going forward.
And do you think that's still the case given the evolving nature of the online space? Do you have that expertise that is going to continue to evolve as the online space continues to evolve?
I hope so. Not everybody can anticipate what somebody in a garage in Sunderland is going to come up with that's going to transform the landscape. But we do a lot of horizon scanning at Ofcom in our policy team, and they're looking all the time. And we've got some superb brains who know this stuff inside out, who are looking all the time for what may be the next thing, what's coming. But the important thing for now is to absolutely implement the Act in the way that Parliament has handed down to us. But I'm confident, going back to your original question, we've got the right result. We could always do with more, but that's a simple answer. The question is the quality of the people that we recruited, and I'd be very comfortable on that front.
I think I would just add that there's no question there's plenty of risk around your question. So whether that's because events will keep moving, technology will keep adapting, we're mitigating that particular risk by building as strong partnerships as we can globally, and with other regulators in the UK, so that there's as many heads as possible applied to these things, particularly around horizon scanning. It's one of the most fruitful areas of cross-regulatory cooperation, in fact. But the other risk is simply that we just don't know at this stage exactly how the industry is going to respond. And if we end up with some really big court cases, then that could be quite expensive. But what we've got with the government is a good arrangement, certainly around legal costs. And I feel that we have the right sort of partnership to be able to say, you know, this is now something where we're going to need to put more resource into Ofcom, because everybody wants us to get on with this Act. I've got absolutely no questions at all about the government's commitment for us to want to do that. In fact, they keep asking us to, if anything, do even more and even faster. So if we end up with resource issues, then that's a good conversation that I would hope to be able to have.
I would just add, if I may, there's an international dimension to this. The tech companies themselves are dealing with this in so many territories, both at the European Union and Australia. All over the world, they're having to deal with the onset of regulation. And Melanie's been in the forefront of international dialogue with other regulators and governments around the place to ensure best practice of shared, this is our problem, have you solved it, and so on. That's a very, very important part of Melanie's role in this, if I may say so.
Thank you. And are you getting that quality of relationship with platforms that you would like to enable you to move forward with these issues?
Yet to be tested, let's put it that way. But we have good dialogue. We've had good dialogue with the major tech companies for the last 2-3 years, really. But it's not yet been tested. And the test, I've always thought the test is the public policy people and the lawyers are wonderful. They really engage. They want to understand it. Will that translate to the people who design the platforms and the products that they're selling? That's the real test. And we shall see.
Thank you.